Renan Koen is a pianist, composer, soprano, and music therapist. And about 2 years ago, she wrote me at the Orell Foundation, for which I also serve as president, to ask permission to reprint several of the composer biographies on the Orell website in material she was publishing in connection with a suppressed composer concert she was producing in Istanbul, Turkey, Recovered Voices composers. And this would be the first Holocaust music-related concert ever produced in the country. I granted that permission and, as usual, asked her to please send me 2 copies of whatever she printed that contained the Orell material. Then about 8 months ago, I received a package with 2 books, and on the inside front and back covers were also inserted a CD and a DVD of a concert and related activities. I have the book. I'll show you in a while. And inside this book were 3 Orell composer biographies in English, French, German, and of course, Turkish. I gave one of the books to Mike Beckerman, and the next time I saw him in New York, we both, when I saw him in New York, I gave him the book, and then we both listened to the CD and checked out the DVD, and we agreed that we should extend an invitation to Renan to join us this particular weekend. So, to speak on positive resistance on the musical path and to perform select movements from the sonatas of Gideon Klein and Viktor Ullmann, from Istanbul, Turkey, Renan Koen.
Hello. I would like to first thank Michael Beckerman and Bob Elias for inviting me this estimated symposium and to express my appreciation to all of you contributing to it. I'm so honored and happy to be part of this event. Years and years ago, when I learned about the Theresienstadt concentration camp and that music performance and the composition continued even during the time of internment, I was very curious about how the musical composition took place and how these new works came to life in such a setting. So I started my research for music scores. At first, 4 composers caught my attention. These composers were Zygmunt Schul, Pavel Haas, Viktor Ullmann, and Gideon Klein. I ordered a few piano and chorus works that they had composed before the war and during their internment in Theresienstadt. I was able to collect these works over the course of a few years. I still remember the day and the mixed feelings I had when I first had the scores in my hands. Today, here, I would like to briefly review the life stories of 2 of these 4 composers, who I got to know through the works they composed in the camp, what they tried to convey through their music, their contributions to music, and the way they manifested a positive resistance through their creativity. Gideon Klein was born in Prerov in Morove in 1919. He showed signs of exceptional musical talent at an early age. Klein studied piano with Professor Ruzena Kurzova and graduated from the master class of Professor Wilhelm Kurz with honors. At the same time, Klein studied philosophy and musicology at the Charles University in Prague. He also studied composition with Professor Alois Haba. After the German invasion in March 1939, all Czech colleges and universities were closed down, as a result of which Klein had to take a compulsory break from his education. In December 1941, he was imprisoned in Theresienstadt concentration camp, and in October 1944 was transferred by Auschwitz to Fürstengrube, where his life ended tragically in January 1945. In addition to the important works Klein continued to compose during his Theresienstadt imprisonment, his efforts and those of Viktor Ullmann to organize musical performances together, Their perseverances in composition and the essays they wrote were extremely important to the spirit of solidarity within their community inside the Theresian concentration camp, and also to keeping the spirit of creativity alive. German conductor, pianist, composer, and music critic Viktor Ullmann's contributions were particularly exceptional. He had studied music with Arnold Schoenberg's student Joseph Paulnoir. In 1942, he was imprisoned in Theresien and was killed in Auschwitz in October 1944. In addition to the works he composed in Theresien, his work also inspired the spirit of solidarity within a segment of the camp population, and he put a lot of effort into maintaining that spirit. While dealing with friends and colleagues who were often depressed and lethargic, he continued to create and to organize performances to raise spirits. He also continued to write essays and had long philosophical discussions with Gideon Klein, among others, to further his musical development and to encourage critical thought. He writes, "For me, Theresienstadt has been and remains an education in form. I think these words clearly explain to us his approach, both to music and to life in general." Sonata number 7, which was composed of 7 movements, or as Ullmann would like to call it, the sketchbook of Theresien, begins with the second movement, which I will be playing here today, which is marked Alla Marcia. In this movement, as can be understood by the composer's note, ben mesurato, there is no room for flexibility, and it is of utmost importance to play in the rhythm it was composed. As is indicated by the marcato accent, the movement ends with a strong grace note leading to A from the G sharp, and this is important in terms of showing the resemblance between two composers. It is exactly the same way in the third movement of Klein sonata, where he describes two kinds of trains, ends. The parallel concluding notes of these sonatas makes me think that the composers made similar decisions on that subject, which I would like to play these motifs on the piano now. And this is the first train motifs of Klein sonata, last movement. And the second train motifs of the same movement. The other movement I will be playing from Ullmann Sonata, Variation and Fugue, über ein Hebräisch Volkslied, is a mishabera, which is one of the klezmer modes. In the Jewish tradition, this makam, or mode, is intended for individual and communal healing. I believe that the composer used it also for healing by extreme communal suffering. Before I move on to Ullmann's and Klein's piano sonatas, which bear resemblance in terms of their common symbols, I'd like to finally put on my music therapist shoes and discuss briefly the act of creation and the important contributions of creativity to positive resistance and the effects of all this on life in general. Whenever the human brain learns or creates something new, it activates a previously inactive region and expands. As we listen to music, emotions and ideas are perceived through melodies and rhythms at the same time. This triggers certain things which are certainly felt on a physical level. While performing a performance activates the left and the right brain at the same time. What is more, creating music activates multiple parts of brain simultaneously and forms new active regions in the brain. The creative process, where a mixture of several emotions and thoughts are in play, causes brain function to expand remarkably. A composer who also observes the creative process and composes with such an awareness of this creation benefits from it greatly. This person has learned in a way to travel through the act of creation without recourse to physically changing his actual location. This person has earned the license to use the same creativity in other facts of life. This imbues one with great flexibility. This flexibility earned through one's ability to create brings with the possibility to face our circumstances and living conditions in complete honesty, in the absence of an expectation of a certain picture or sound that we consciously or unconsciously form in our brains. It not only encourages this possibility, but also forms a new region in our brains that allows us to overcome obstacles through flexible solutions without instrumentalizing this solution for another issue or making an obstinate, insistent case out of it. This new approach toward life makes us stronger, healthier in every aspect of life, and in my own words, makes us more positively resistant to life each day. Also, as a citizen of a country that has only recently faced the reality of the Holocaust, I understood the importance of this encounter in 2015 in greater depth when, for the first time in history, a non-Jewish gathering of 700 people attended a Holocaust concert, and also through the feedback I received in the concert aftermath. Most people learned only at that time what the Holocaust meant. I believe the way to open new spaces for saying never again to all kinds of persecution must first go through his mutual facing up to the realities. I would like to express my deep respect and gratitude to these brave composers, people who faced their circumstances in all honesty, continued to claim their ground until their last breath, and most importantly, recreated their lives anew each day by using their remarkable skills of positive resistance.